name's Alex Alexandrov. I'm the founder of Velas AG, which is a company based in Zug, Switzerland. I'm also founder of Coin Payments Inc. Canada and Coin Payments now Cayman Islands. I'm here to talk about Velas. Velas is a virtual expanding learning autonomous system. It is designed to solve a problem of centralization and constant optimization of the network without involvement of humans to lower the cost of consensus and pave the way for artificial intelligence systems that can be built on top. So there is no similar technology to what Velas is doing on the market today. There's a few attempts of trying to decentralize artificial intelligence, which I disagree that it's very possible right now. What we're focusing on is artificial intuition, which takes a lot less resources and allows us to reach quite amazing results for the consensus model on the network, and also able to train the neural networks without really high-end computers required, and being able to decentralize it because it doesn't need a lot of data sets to train. Basically the formula goes like this: if I've done this before, I can do it again. I don't need to remember it. So artificial intuition is a lot less resource intensive as artificial intelligence would be, especially when it comes to how much data you need to carry for the decision making. Now, DPoS, which is what we call our delegated proof of stake selection made by artificial intuition, it eliminates centralization because now people aren't voting, and just a stake of coin isn't guaranteeing you the position in the network to be a block producer. Block producers are picked by the artificial intuition based on what is actually required for the network. So things that are taken into consideration are, the amount of coins you have for sure, certainly, but then also the speed of your computer, uptime, reliability of your node, where geographically you're located right now, and how much resources are you allowing for the network at any given time. In the future, also your participation in the network will be part of the things that artificial intuition will take into consideration to give you your score, and thus the ability to be a block producer on the network. This kind of model is actually really great because it eliminates the human factor entirely from the equation. So now we have, autonomous system blockchain that is immutable, and also we don't have the human failure. So it's not a utopia that's ran by people, right? Which never going to work, essentially. That is definitely something that comes up in a lot of conversations, and I've had a lot of issues from day one of even publishing a white paper with people reading it and saying, "Oh, artificial intelligence decentralization, it's never going to work, it's going to be huge." But they have to kind of look into it and realize, and as soon as they do realize it's intuition, where we're talking about non-intelligence, they're like, "Oh," and they have this aha moment, like, "Oh, wow, this is actually going to probably work and will work." So I think we're going to rebrand at some point and call it AN, and I'm already kind of referring it to it right now, so it sounds funny when I talk. That's probably why I'm doing that. So AN DPoS is probably what we're going to rebrand it to make it more clear. Unfortunately, they sound the same, right? Artificial intelligence, artificial intuition, same abbreviation. It's a pretty new concept. You don't hear much about artificial intuition, although it's not a new idea. It's been around for a while now. It's becoming more interested. It's being more researched right now by the corporations for bias optimizations and drivers and things like that. So for the blockchain, it's a perfect fit. Right, so artificial intuition is basically a protocol or an algorithm that it decides based on receptacles or its view on the world, right? So it basically analyzes the current state that it's in. It is trained on a few data points, and then others can be trained through the environment simulation. And then it remembers things in a neural network. It doesn't actually have to go through the data sets. And so essentially, like I said before, if I've done it before, I can do it again. No need to remember it is a big piece of it. So think of it in easier terms is if you know how to breathe, the moment you start to breathe, you just keep breathing. You don't really think about breathing. You blink your eyes, you don't really think about blinking your eyes anymore. But if you're walking down the street and you see construction, you're looking up to make sure nothing falls on your head. That's based on memory, understanding, and environment awareness, right? So that's an intelligence, and you have to kind of access your memories for that. But for blinking and breathing and certain activities, it's memorized, and it's basically just automated at that point on. So there's not a lot of memory involved in those activities. Very basic. So artificial intuition is it's kind of like a process in your body that makes you blink and breathe and do these other things. It just runs and optimizes those little functions. And then MindAI or other artificial intelligence systems. They actually take copious amounts of data, more the better, right? And then analyze them to come up with the best outcome based on what they've analyzed, right? And so that's the big difference between the two processes, right? So artificial intuition doesn't really rely on huge amount of data. You just have to train it to behave a certain way, and we call it understanding that it's receptacle. So think of it like single cell bacteria. So if you have bacteria don't go to school, they don't have parents, they don't really taught what to do. They're just born and they sort of intuit how to find food, avoid poison, how to reproduce, and then eventually knowing those in big groups, they can also learn how to become antibiotic resistant, and then they pass that down in their genetic code, but they don't train the next generation. They just now have this ability to overcome this type of antibiotic. Same thing as on the Velas network, they will learn how to train new abilities for themselves once we've trained the first data sets, and then we can add more to it over time. So kind of guiding their evolution and in exchange, guiding the evolution of the blockchain itself and its abilities to scale up, adapt to new environments, geolocate the nodes to predict where the transactions are going to take place, and all these things over time, because enormous amount of computation power of the nodes is going to be dedicated to perfecting its neural network, right, and enhancing it constantly, which will be a huge contribution to society, because then you'll be able to download these nodes and not even, if you're not be a producer, but be able to deploy them in your projects separately outside of Velas. So you basically, it's going to be like a two-way marketplace for artificial intuition, which can be used in all kinds of projects, and it's going to save people money and time having to build it, and then you just have to retrain it to whatever you need, right? And then you can even sell it back as a contract back on the Velas network if you choose so. They're really exciting, and it's extremely experimental, and I get it. But I think the journey and the direction that we're headed is where things need to go in the blockchain space to become more self-ran, more autonomous, and less human involved in the development. Because the evolution of the blockchains, kind of demands that now, in my opinion. And the governance seems to be a big problem. So if we let the management of blockchains to blockchains, I think we're going to achieve some really cool things that we can't even imagine yet. So our roadmap right now is to release the mobile wallet that should be available soon. After that, the nodes for the network are already stabilizing. So the network is getting quite stable right now and robust. So we rolled out pre-alpha. We want to make sure that stability is achieved before we start rolling out features like containers. Because last thing we want to do is allow people to deposit other cryptocurrencies of significant value into Velas network when the network stability isn't achieved in case there's any issues. So that's going to happen at an alpha stage, and we're getting close to it now. We're looking at probably November, and in between that time, where we'll be releasing mobile wallet, like I said, and we're going to be getting on more exchanges, because we want to make sure that we're really are everywhere, right? Just like any end of the coin in this ecosystem, it really needs to be used, because that data is really important for our AI, or our AN rather. So what I would encourage all the users out there is to start using our coin, doing transactions, sends, receive. The more data we can build, the more use cases we give AI to learn from right now, the better the result will be when we get to alpha version of the network, when it starts to be deployed. So that's kind of why I'm doing all this, and why we're really set out on this mission. But we can't do it without community really helping us train this activity, because the stuff we can do in a simulated environment in our offices and stuff, it works great, but that's not really what we've already seen in the network as soon as we launch it. So the data sets from real life are really, really important. So please use it, please interact with it. Do as much weird things that you can imagine to it as you can. The more the better, right? We need this information. Please join us at velas.com. Please join us on our Telegram channel. Soon to be forum, we're going to be hosting on velas.com. So velas.com is basically going to be the hub for everything. So we have our web wallet there, desktop wallets, nodes. You will have links for a mobile wallet on there as well. Links to all the open source material that's available for the developers, developer bounties and incentives, all that stuff. This is going to be our hub and our home. And then Telegram is probably going to be where we communicate and interact. We have a channel for different markets, so different language channels available, which you'll find on velas.com. And then we have development tools and development channels as well available for those that want to participate in such things. So please look at all the resources available on there, find what's appropriate for you, and join us on this journey.